Non-finite verbs. A non-finite verb is a verb form that does not show tense. In other words, you can tell if a sentence is in the past tense, present tense, or future tense by looking at a non-finite verb. Therefore, a non-finite verb is never the main verb in a sentence. It is a finite verb which is the main verb in a sentence. There are three types of non-finite verbs: gerunds, infinitives, and participles. Gerunds, example, baking, singing. Infinitives, to bake, to sing. Participles, there are two types: present participles, example, baking, singing. Past participles, example, baked, sung. Non-finite verbs function as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs, or combine with a finite verb for verb tense. Types of non-finite verbs. Gerunds. Example, cooking. Cooking lamb properly is a skill. Here cooking is noun. Participles present and past. Cooking and cooked. Add some cooking oil. Serve the cooked ham. Here cooking and cooked are adjectives. I have cooked the ham. This is the main verb here and it is a finite verb. Infinitives. Example, to cook. Heat the oil to cook the prawns. Find a recipe to cook prawns. Here, in the first sentence, to cook is adverb, and in the second one, it is an adjective. Examples of non-finite verbs. In each example, the non-finite verb is in italics, and the finite verb or the main verb is in bold. Note that you can tell whether the sentence is in the past tense, present tense, or future tense only by looking at the finite verbs, that is, bold text. You cannot determine the tense by looking at the non-finite verbs, italicized text. Gerund. The telltale sign is ing ending. Example, Lee likes playing rugby. Playing is gerund here and likes is the main verb, and the gerund is used as a noun. Infinitive. The telltale sign is it is usually preceded by to. He wants to play rugby. Here wants is the main verb and to play is the infinitive used as noun. He wants a game to play. Wants is the main verb and to play is the infinitive used as an adjective. He begged to play. Begged is the main verb and to play is the infinitive used as an adverb in this sentence. Participle. Present participle, the telltale sign is ing ending. Lee was the playing reserve. Playing is present participle used as an adjective here and was is the main verb. We watched Lee playing rugby. Watched is the main verb and playing is the present participle used as an adjective. He is playing badly. Playing is the adjective and is used as a verb tense here. Past participle, the telltale sign is it usually ends in ed, d, t, en or n. The set piece played failed. Failed is the main verb and played is adjective here. He has played two games. Played is the past participle and used as verb tense here. The set piece was played by Lee. Played is the past participle and used as verb tense in this sentence. Gerunds. A gerund is a noun formed from a verb. All gerunds end in ing. For example, discovery consists of seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. Seeing and thinking are gerunds. I have never taken any exercise except sleeping and resting. Here, sleeping and resting are gerunds. Gerunds maintain some verb-like properties. For example, they can take objects and be modified by adverbs. Therefore, a gerund will often appear in a gerund phrase which consists of the gerund and objects and modifiers. In these examples, the gerund phrases are italicized, the gerunds are highlighted, and the main verb, that is the finite verb, is in bold. Art is making something out of nothing and selling it. Is the main verb. Making something out of nothing and selling it is the gerund phrase, and making and selling are gerunds. I started by photographing birds in my garden. Started is the main verb. Photographing birds in my garden is the gerund phrase, and photographing is gerund. Infinitives. An infinitive is a verb form often preceded by to that can function as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. To win was everything. Here the infinitive is functioning as a noun. Compare this with the victory was everything. The man paid to win. Here the infinitive to win is functioning as an adverb. It is modified by the verb paid. Compare this with the man paid so he could win. The clause so he could win is an adverbial clause of reason. It is the competition to win. To win is the infinitive functioning as an adjective. Compare this with it is the top competition. An infinitive often appears in an infinitive phrase. An infinitive phrase consists of the infinitive and objects and modifiers. In the following examples, the infinitive phrases are italicized, the infinitives are highlighted, and the finite verbs or the main verbs are in bold. She needed to find a lot of money quickly. The infinitive phrase to find a lot of money quickly is being used as a noun. I showed her the best way to make a Yorkshire pudding. The infinitive phrase to make a Yorkshire pudding is being used as an adjective. He set the camera to film whatever was eating his chickens. Infinitive phrase to film whatever was eating his chickens is being used as an adverb. Not all infinitives are preceded by to. Infinitives also feature in verb chains after verbs like could, may, should, and would, that is, auxiliary verbs, and verbs like to make and to let. If the highest aim of a captain were to preserve his ship, he would keep it in port forever. Here, the infinitive keep is bare infinitive, that is, without to. Let them eat cake. Here, the infinitive eat is used without to. Participles. Participle is a verb form that can function as an adjective. There are two types of participles. The present participle ending in ing and the past participle usually ending in ed, d, t, en or n. Here are some participles being used as adjectives. A stirring dwarf we do allowance give before a sleeping giant. Here there are two present participles, stirring and sleeping, functioning as adjectives. Food is an important part of a balanced diet. Here the past participle balanced is functioning as an adjective. Here are few more examples of present and past participles. To bake, the baking bread, the baked bread. To print, the printing document, the printed document. To lower, the lowering prices, the lowered prices. Often a participle heads up a participle phrase functioning as an adjective. In these examples, the participle phrases are italicized, the participles are highlighted, and the finite verbs or the main verbs are in bold. Drawing on my fine command of English language, I said nothing. Here, drawing on my fine command of the English language is the participle phrase, drawing is the participle, and said is the main verb. Connected entirely by canals and footbridges, the Dutch village of Giethoorn has no roads. Here, connected entirely by canals and footbridges is the participle phrase and the participle both, and has is the main verb. Participles are also used to form verb tenses. I was eating beans by candlelight for a decade. Here a present participle helps to form the past progressive tense. Was eating. Note that eating does not give away whether the verb is past, present or future. Only was, the finite verb, does. Was tells us this is the past tense. I have taken more out of alcohol than alcohol has taken out of me. Here the past participle helps to form two examples of the present perfect tense. Note that taken does not give away whether the verb is past, present or future. Only have and has, that is, the finite verbs, do tell us that the verb is past, present or future. More about non-finite verbs. Example, people want to win. Most people have the will to win, but few have the will to prepare to win. Here, the first to win functions as a noun. The second to win functions as an adjective. And the third to win functions as an adverb that modifies to prepare, which functions as an adjective. The way to make money is to buy when blood is running in the streets. Here to make functions as an adjective, to buy functions as a noun, and running forms the present progressive tense. Finite and non-finite verbs can look identical. Do not forget that a finite verb and a non-finite verb might look identical. Look at roasted in this example. They roasted chestnuts because roasted chestnuts were profitable. The first roasted is finite. It tells us the sentence is in the past tense. The second roasted is non-finite. It is functioning as an adjective. Why should I care about non-finite verbs? This might be a question arising in your mind. The reason is most of us use non-finite verbs without giving the grammar a second thought. But if that's you, you might be missing a trick. Here are three good reasons to think about non-finite verbs a little more. Reason 1. Gerunds can reduce your word count and improve reading flow. Normal nouns, that is not gerunds, and the prepositions, example of, with, for, and the articles a, an, and the, required to make those nouns work, can make a sentence jolty and unnecessarily long. For example, the use of urine for the cleaning of teeth was a common practice in the time of the Romans. This sentence has way too many nouns. It is long and stuffy, and it doesn't flow naturally. As a rule, a well-placed verb is the best way to fix a jolty, noun-filled sentence, but gerunds, being a bit verb-like themselves, are also useful are also a useful tool for reducing your word count and creating a more flowing sentence. Now, the same sentence is rewritten as cleaning teeth with urine was common in Roman times. This 9-word version features one gerund phrase. It flows far better than the 19-word version above. Of course, a few other things have happened here to reduce from 19 to 9 words. Example, in the time of the Romans became in Roman times. But the very act of looking to replace a rabble of nouns, prepositions, and articles with some sleek gerunds or verbs will drive those other changes too. Overusing nouns is particularly common in a business setting because writers feel that noun chains make their writing sound more corporate. Reason second. Participles allow a sentence structure that lets you say two or more things tidily. You will know that it's a good idea to mix up your sentence structures. Example, short ones, long ones, active ones, or passive ones to keep your readers engaged. Participles can help with this. They can be used to create a great sentence structure that lets you to say two or more things about the subject, not only in an efficient way, but also in a way that adds that variety to your sentence structures. For example, imbued during my teens with a sense of doom, I wouldn't live those days again even if it were possible. But I can't pretend growing old is sweetness either. The participle phrase describes the subject I before the reader gets to it. That's pretty efficient and it adds variety. This example has a possible alternative. I wouldn't live my teens again even if it were possible because I was imbued with a sense of doom during those days, but I can't pretend growing old is sweetness either. Let us see another example. Always willing to entertain others' ideas, Jack is adept at building trust through regular, open, and honest communication. This has an alternative as Jack is always willing to entertain others' ideas and he is adept at building trust through regular, open, and honest communication. Here is another example. Demonstrating level-headedness in all business dealings, Jill listens actively and engages appropriately when in disagreement. Another alternative is Jill demonstrates level-headedness in all business dealings, listens actively and engages appropriately when in disagreement. The three alternative versions which we have seen are not disastrous, but they don't flow quite as well. And being structurally pretty standard, they don't do much for your sentence structure variety. They are just not as swish. Putting a participle phrase up front is particularly useful when writing personal appraisals. Clearly, you shouldn't write every sentence in this style, but the odd one will add some variety and help you to shoehorn in more observations. Reason third, an infinitive can usually replace in order to. To reduce your word count, you can usually replace in order to with to without any loss of meaning. The doctors joined the A and E team to gain experience. In 2008, scientists discovered bacteria that had adapted to live in hairspray. Even though it might add to your word count, in order to does have an advantage. It makes it clear that the text that follows is the reason for performing the action. It is like using so as to. Jack built a metal detector to find gold nuggets. Here, to find gold nuggets could be an adjective modifying detector. Jack built a metal detector in order to find gold nuggets. With in order to, it is clear that to find gold nuggets is an adverb modifying built. It tells readers why he built the metal detector, which readers will now take to be a standard metal detector. There is another advantage. Using in order to puts a little more emphasis on the reason for the action. These two advantages are not normally why people use in order to. Mostly it is used because writers think it sounds more highbrow. It is not highbrow, it is inefficient. That said though, in order not to, that is the negative version, flows far better than not to. For example, in order not to offend anybody, in order not to seem to be partisan, the term terrorist is virtually outlawed in US-run news agencies. This reads far better than not to offend anybody, not to seem to be partisan, and so on. We have a few key points. Using the verb-like properties of gerunds creates shorter, better flowing sentences. As well as adding variety to your sentence structures, using participle phrases upfront lets you cram more information into your sentences. If in order to adds no clarity and you are not looking for emphasis on the reason, delete in order.